there's a lot of people griping and complaining, saying West Virginia is not going to get into the NCAA tournament. I'm here to staunchly disagree with you.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am the host of Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for joining in, guys. Going to be brought to you by none other than TurboTax. They get it done fast at TurboTax, guys. Do you want your money back, stress-free and guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today to get matched with your expert. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. So, okay, where to begin? I've seen some stuff and some things about the Mountaineers not being included in the field, and people giving reasons for that, citing the second half of the season, and all our better wins came in the first 20 games, and different things like that. If they factored in the second half of the season over the first half, maybe you've got some kind of something there. But at the end of the day, the totality of the resume has to matter. And I've got a ton of numbers here that is going to. It would be I won't say an all-time botch, but let's say it would be a solid 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 shocking botch if West Virginia didn't get in. But I did see this. Joe Lunardi put this out yesterday. As you can see, West Virginia on the bubble here, last 4 byes. He's got West Virginia in red trending downward towards that last 4 in, first 4 out, with Baylor, Utah State, and San Diego State. One thing about Joe Lunardi is he don't miss. He just don't miss. I've seen him get one wrong, maybe in history. He's just too plugged in. He's with ESPN. He gets bad information. It's no secret, that. And he's been doing this for so long. He knows what the committee factors into these. If I know the answers, if I know what your criteria are, then I can probably come to a pretty good judgment, right, of who the field is going to be. And Lunardi is able to do that pretty much every year. So, look, we're not in a great spot here. I won't lie to you and say that we are in a great spot here. We're trending down. We're still going to be one of the last 4 byes, I believe. Maybe we'll play it, maybe we're in the net last 4 in, but I don't see a play-in game here for us or anything like that because of our resume and who we'll have to go up against. You look at these teams here. You've got West Virginia, and for those of you listening on podcast, I've got if you go to Joe Lunardi's X account, he put this up yesterday. This was going into, I think, the Colorado. This was Wednesday, March 12th. So he had, headlines on this were North Carolina moves into the field, last team in following Ohio State's loss to Iowa. Texas is sitting as first team out after opening SEC tourney win over Vanderbilt. West Virginia falls to last 4 byes following Big 12 tourney loss to last place Colorado. So it's hurting us, and we're one of the 3 headlines here. Not good. So that doesn't mean that we're out, though. It just means that we really hurt ourselves. We went from a possible 7 or an 8 seed to a 10 seed, most likely. And, most have us on the 9 or 10 line. Maybe we get lucky and get on the 9 line. Either way, we're going to be playing somebody better than us by seeding and record and all that kind of good stuff. So what does it all mean, and how can we look at this and kind of feel better about West Virginia's chances? Well, I've got the handy-dandy notepad. I'm going to have to get a new one. I got a lot of notes in here. I went back and read some of my notes. Man, it's like, geez, man, how wrong was I on some stuff before the football season? I might go over that for an episode one day just to give you guys a kick. You guys know that I don't get up here and pretend to be a know-it-all. I admit when I'm wrong. I've admitted I was wrong on Neil Brown even, all the way from Neil Brown after 2022, I said he should have been fired. He had the 2023 season. I said, okay, I was wrong. Then I said he needed fired again because you have to change as information comes in. And then I said Garrett Green was not going to be, I believe, in Nico. And then he proved me wrong that same 23 year. So they're both kind of fool's gold. But the point is I'm able to get up here on this platform and admit that I'm sometimes wrong, but I'm also right a lot. So average, if you look at like some of the, there's a lot of websites out there. Evan Miyakawa, there's a bunch, bracketologies, whatever you want to call them, websites where they all factor in these numbers. And three guys for the game, I always love what the Senator does there, man. He's always got a lot of great information at the ready. And he was saying earlier today, West Virginia 9.7, 9.8 on the majority of those, and that's like out of over 100. We're probably going to be looking at a Missouri, a Marquette, a Louisville, a UConn, somewhere in that range of teams. And if we win, then you're talking about the 2 seeds, Alabama's, the teams like that we possibly would have to play beyond that. So it gets hard really fast if we win one game out of 10. So you got to think where we came from and where we are too. I feel like, we had 9 total wins last year. We said we double digit more wins. Against Colorado, there were some oddities. Javon went 26 minutes without taking a single shot. Yesterday, I defended him because of that final stat line. Oops, sorry, my camera's shaking. That final stat line from Javon yesterday, while it was good, I didn't realize that he went that long without a shot because I turned it off the last 3 minutes of the game. I was so mad. Plus, I was getting ready. I was getting the episode ready to do the post-game report. So sometimes I have to shut it off because if I'm watching it on my computer, I have to, get the thumbnail and everything ready. But anyway, so a couple things. This is all per Brad Howell from Three Guys. West Virginia had 2 losses all season to a team ranked lower than 75th. Ironically, both TCU and Colorado were the teams, which, just happened to be the teams that we would have faced. Had TCU won, we'd have played them. We already lost to them once. Colorado, obviously, we just lost to them. We had 8 losses that were top 30 losses. So that means basically we had 8 losses that were at some point in time, one of those teams were probably a top 25 team. Pretty wild, really, with the 4th hardest schedule in the league. And when you consider how hard we schedule in this league, that's saying a lot. One of the big things I think in our schedule this year was the BYU, which we didn't realize was going to be so good. Count me among the people that didn't realize they were going to be so good. The BYU, and also can't forget about the Houston Cougars having to play them twice. So those 4 games against them is obviously really rough. Both top 25 teams, both have a chance to make a deep run in the tournament. So West Virginia faced a lot of pitfalls, still came away with 19 wins, still had 6 or 7. I had it written down, but I've lost it here. Quad 1 wins, a lot of quad 2 wins, basically no quad 3 or quad 4 losses. And so I come away with this like I would be shocked if West Virginia didn't get in, guys, which is why I have the Rocky shirt on today, because we might be underdogs, but we're not out, right? From the fighting city of Philadelphia, we're going to be like Rocky coming up here in the next couple weeks. And look, there is a benefit to losing the game. I said it yesterday in the opening. I said, hey, there's something good that came out of this, right? West Virginia gets 7 days off. 7 days off, guys. That's so good for this team specifically. We need this 7 days off, maybe even another extra day or 2, depending on where we play, who we play, what seed we are. But like at the very earliest, we play in 7 days. So I think we needed it worse than anybody. Now, you can argue that maybe it'll make us even more out of sync or more rusty, but you can also get in the lab and fix some things. Although it is what it is at this point, I just think this team needs rest, especially Javon. And while we may be a little rusty in the first game, I like us against any 7 seed team outside of. I think Louisville will be a really tough matchup for us. We saw that. We had to go to overtime to beat them, and they were a tough matchup for us. But I think we can beat them. I would prefer not to play UConn and those huge, humongous dudes they have, and Hurley, and just the significance of playing them. They've got all these championships here recently. So, and maybe we're 11 seed. Yeah, I see somebody in the comment put that. As of right now, I say 10. Now, here's the thing. They could lose a couple seed lines, or even if West Virginia gets knocked out of this, the way it's going to happen is the way it happens all the time. The teams like West Virginia, who are 19, 20 wins with a really strong resume. A team like Texas goes and wins the SEC tournament, or North Carolina wins the ACC tournament, or, even though those teams aren't technically, I think those teams have work to do, right? Or in the Horizon League, their second place team who maybe they got 22, 23 wins, but they're not in that large team, right? So a lot of times what will happen is one of those teams will win the tournament and beat the team that's like 30-2, right? Like St. Mary's or Gonzaga. We've seen that happen in the past when St. Mary's has done it, when they weren't at large, but they got in by beating Gonzaga or whatever. So that happens, and it does knock teams like usually Power 4 teams out. But it would take I think at this point, at least 3 or 4 really shocking results, teams that weren't in getting in, something like that, for us to actually be in real trouble. So, and then I think even then we would be a play-in game. So I think we're going to be fine. We just barely sneaking in here. Sounds like 18 wasn't going to be enough, and like a lot of us thought. So I guess we consider ourselves lucky to be where we're at. We'll follow it the rest of this week. Like I told you guys yesterday, I'll do a video. We'll go live or something if, for whatever reason, this starts to look hairy. Let's go to a break. On the other side, guys, Ryan Garrett. We've met a wide receivers coach today, and I was so freaking impressed with him. I'm talking about 10 out of 10 impressed with Ryan Garrett. Rich Rod spoke to. We'll go over those press conferences on this episode of Locked On West Virginia. You don't want to miss it. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by Monarch Money College. Monarch Money College. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? I know I've done that before. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending in one place. So you just basically stop managing your money and start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending on food delivery. Guys, I'm a big DoorDasher. At this point in time in my life, I personally do believe I went out and bought this stuff for Alfredo the other day. It cost me $60. That was like the little bag chicken. It's not even actually getting chicken breasts and cooking it the right way, and it was frozen broccoli, and it was pre-made Alfredo noodles. I didn't even make them myself. And then I did make the Alfredo sauce from scratch, which is just basically butter, heavy cream, a little bit of flour, and Parmesan, right? And some garlic. But, it cost me $60. So eating out like DoorDash is not a bad option these days, considering the way things are with groceries right now. But with Monarch, guys, you can really budget and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, Monarch will help you check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money, and use Locked On College at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code Locked On College for half off your first year. It's segment 2. Let's crack a do and talk a little bit about West Virginia football for a minute. Got some interesting updates today. I dropped my lid. Uh-oh. Let's see if I can set something over top of there. Okay. And that's not good. I just spilled it everywhere. All right, so let's talk about this football situation with Rich Rod and Ryan Garrett. We'll start with Rich Rod, I guess, because his was, I've got his notes right here on my computer, and I'll just run through them really quick. He talked about the Blaine Stewart situation and how he got an opportunity to go back to the NFL. He will be hiring an inside receivers coach. And look, I have made the case that I think we should at least look at Ryan Switzer. I really do. I think Ryan Switzer would be a great. He's wanted to come to West Virginia for years. He's campaigned to come to West Virginia for years. And he got the Tulsa head coaching job, not even like his interim job whenever their guy got fired last year. They chose him to be the interim coach, guys. So I think he's really proven himself, and he's wanted to be in this. Look, it wasn't just 2 years ago he was begging to come on Neil's staff, and he wasn't there at Tulsa for about a year, and he got an interim job. Like, I believe he would be a great fit for us. He's a West Virginia kid. Even though he went to North Carolina, I think he would be great in the North Carolina area for us. There's a lot of things to like about him. And then obviously the slam dunk home run, if we could ever get it, we would all jump up and down for joy. Has nothing to do with him being a Mountaineer, to be honest. Tavon Austin. I think if you can get him, it's a pie in the sky. Listen, before you guys yell at me in the comments, because some people will, I just think you got to make the call. His legacy, how popular he is with today's player. I don't care a hoot if he's got any experience. You get him up to speed, and he'll be our biggest weapon, right? I think Tavon Austin would be the slam dunk, runaway home run, home hire if you could possibly do it, but I doubt you're going to be able to. Then there's guys like Nikhil Shorts out there at Nebraska who's getting paid $400,000 right now, I looked at. So I don't know if he's in the price range, but he would be a great fit as well. Obviously, coming back home. And there are other guys that don't have to be a West Virginia guy, but Nikhil Shorts is actually a legit, really good wide receivers coach. So, and he would be taking a demotion as well to inside, right? But if you pay a guy enough, he will. Okay, so let's go over some other stuff to Rich said. I'm just going to hit the main ones here. He said they could get away with not replacing the position and obviously using Trickett, but they're not going to do that because they want a good recruiter. Not that Trickett's not, but they want that extra hand if they can get it. If you can have an extra staff member, you might as well bring him on. So no big deal there. Talked about Ryan Garrett. They asked a question about Garrett because he was coming to interview him next, and he said he loved his energy at Ole Miss. Brought him with him to Louisiana Monroe and then Jack State, and he's a hardworking recruiter and a great young coach. Ryan has been in the system pretty much the last 5 or 6 years, knows it really well, the whys and the ins and the outs. Most coaches, when they move from spot to spot, they bring a core group with them and know their value, which is what Rich Rod is doing here. Let's see. He keeps bringing up the 105. I can tell he really dreads this, cutting down to 105, but here's what we do know for sure. They're having conversations this week with players about you might want to move on. So over the next week or two, guys, pay attention to the show because I've already gotten in contact with a couple guys today. I'm going to have ears and eyes in there. Let me know what these conversations are with them. Let me know what the conversations are with some other guys, hopefully. And hopefully I'll have some news for you about that because, I think we can guess at who is probably going to be cut, but you can't cut all the, because we got a bunch of dudes in the corner room that may be on the edge of that 105, but I don't think you can get rid of all of them. So, you're going to have to cut, like Rich Rod said in his press conference earlier today, you kind of have to cut in multiple places, unfortunately. 2 players he talked about that really made me happy. Guys, who did I tell you was really crushing it earlier the other day when I did my video? Who did I tell you guys was playing really well that they were really impressed with? Jaden Bray, right? I told you that's what my eyes and ears in there told me. I said this last week. And Rodriguez said he's done some good things. The outside wide receiver spots are open. One of the positions they are taking close evaluations on. Talked about P. Fox can play all the positions, which is great. Guys, Jaheim White practiced today. I was going to do a full video on it because I feel like it deserves it maybe, but I don't, it's one of those ones I might get to, I might not get to. But I do think it's very significant that he's practicing this early on. Lets us know that it was a pretty simple knee procedure that he had, which is important because it's not serious. It's not going to be lasting. And Rich Rod gets to look at him a little bit and see like exactly how he kind of moves and fits in the offense, even though you can watch tape. Still, it's nice to see him on the field playing. Let's see. I think that's really it on Rich Rod. So let's go to a quick break. Let's talk about the Ryan Garrett, man. I was so impressed with him, guys. Stick around for that, guys. I got a lot to say about him. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Intuit TurboTax. Taxes used to be waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money at all back, and then waiting and wondering and worrying some more. Now, taxes is matching with the Turbo Expert, tax expert, and then asking, who can you do your taxes as soon as today? That's where you plug into it, TurboTax, an expert who gives you your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible, file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get your money back, the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, wondering, or worrying. This is taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. I want to be ninja. I want to be ninja. You guys heard that before? That girl, the woman that sings "I Want to Be Ninja," and then they make Bobby Lee watch it on Bad Friends because she has like a really bad Asian accent. It's so funny. Anyway, there's my squirrel for the day. Squirrel, Rottweiler. My attention just goes left to right sometimes. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Ryan Garrett, young coach. Let's see. Let me get back here on my notes. It's happening, John. I'm going to sing. Sorry, buddy. It's going to happen. Ryan Garrett talked about Preston Fox. Says he's got one of the things about Preston Fox was he was kind of room watching to see who had respect for him whenever he entered the room, kind of seeing like, hey, how do they react? He was very impressed by the reaction to Preston Fox teammates, which told him a lot about Preston Fox himself. I thought that was pretty cool. I think Preston's a big ad. I think he helps in a lot of areas. He'll definitely be productive. He's an elite punt returner, even though he doesn't get a ton of yards. He doesn't drop the thing. You don't have to worry about it. That's what I love the most about him. So obviously a lot of these questions were directed towards the wide receiver room. And he said there's a mix of new guys and guys who were here from before. He likes that. We're going to make these guys learn to play every position, which we've known. We've heard that a lot. One of the cool things I learned today from Coach Garrett was the way the wide receiver X and the wide receiver Z work in this offense. X and Z are the outside receivers, okay? So in this offense, and if you watch any offense, a lot of times X and Z will switch and flip-flop. Or they won't. I'm sorry. They won't. They stay on the same side usually. Like you'll have a guy that works the Z or that works the X. He's the right side. He's the left side, whatever. In this scenario, they flip based on what hash they're on. So the way I've got it written down is they've got a unique swapping with the two outside wide receiver spots, X and Z. They flip and flop as the hashes move with tempo. And so I think that's pretty cool. It was just something I didn't know about the offense. He said that one of the things that is about that, though, that you got to have two guys on the field that can block, right? Like, you got to have guys that can block at the receiver spot in this offense. And so if you're going to have, I don't know how to put this. If you're going to have guys that are switching, from one end to the other and vice versa, you got to have two guys that can always block out there. So that's kind of very, outside of running and catching, that's like secondary to what you need. So pay attention to that. That's why a guy like Jaden Bray is very exciting for me to look at, because he's 6'2", 220. He's going to be able to block people. Preston Fox, not exactly that. So we'll see. I think, down and distance matters, score matters, that kind of stuff. But, like, if you're just running the base offense, we're probably going to have two outside wide receivers that can really block. They asked him about Rodney Gallagher, and he hadn't had a lot of time with these guys yet. I want to point that out. But I felt like I'm just going to be honest. Like, what I've been told is that, he's still developing as a receiver. I've said that a few times on here. I think Rodney's incredible after the catch. If you can get him the ball, and then, if you can just get him the ball, then he's good. I just wonder how he's going to get open. I know I had a kind of a thing with his dad, where he was upset with me. So, it makes me hesitant to critique anybody. But he said, watch some film. Rodney's got good ball skills, but he's still learning wide receiver and needs to learn to play all four spots, which is kind of what I was been getting at, which is why I think, man, especially, I think is going to win definitely one of the slot jobs. Now, maybe Rodney wins the other one, but I do think that if it's between Man and Rodney for that job, I do think Man's going to win it eventually. And I don't mean anything against Rodney for that. I just love Man personally. Singleton. So, or on Singleton, if you don't know who I'm talking about. Talked about loving multi-sport guys, as far as the guys that play ball, basketball, obviously play football, that kind of stuff. Man, he talked about Jaden Bray too. And I've been hearing this all camp, guys. And remember, Jaden Bray led Oklahoma State in catches in 2023. So this is a guy that's got a chance to be truly, like, on that very good to elite level. Depends. He's got the talent to do that, at least in my opinion. He said Jaden Bray has done a phenomenal job. Really excited to work with him. He shows up and works hard and leads by example every single day. And as of right now, there are no starters in the room until game week. Cam Vaughn knows the offense, dynamic athlete, ton of development ahead of him still, and he's probably the most gifted athlete on the team. So, and that's me saying that, not Garrett, the last part. I do believe that. Cam Vaughn is, like, we've got, if you think about just Oron Singleton and Cam Vaughn, just those two guys, those are two really good players, in my opinion. Like, better than anything we've had at West Virginia in 6 years. Maybe you could go back to Bryce Ford Wheaton and those guys, because they were more productive than what we've had the last couple years. And a lot of what we, I sometimes I wonder, would we have been better at wide receiver had we not had a Garrett quarterback, because of the way he's not a guy that's going to find guys every part of the field. Like, design plays had to be drawn up for Garrett, right? And for whatever reason in 2024, he just didn't. In 2023, like, you saw him find Jaheim out of the backfield to beat Baylor. You saw him make that touchdown pass to Preston Fox, or I'm sorry, Hudson Clement, to beat Houston, or no, to almost beat Houston until the Hail Mary happened. That just didn't happen in 2024. I don't know why, but I don't know if it was a receiver problem or what, but I think it was more Garrett. I think I was told he had a concussion early in camp and he never recovered quickly enough. I don't know how true that is, guys. Don't run with that, because I'm just kind of spitballing a little bit. That is a possibility. I don't know for sure. He said everyone is new. It's crazy. What is he looking for in a wide receiver? Toughness first, which is, I mean, he's a Rich Rod clone, guys, in a lot of ways. Like the way he presented. First of all, I was extremely impressed with Ryan Garrett as an orator, as a speaker. I felt like he came across with a really, really dominating, strong presence. The story he told about how he got Rich Rod to keep him, it was awesome. If you haven't heard it, so when Rich Rod came to Ole Miss as the offensive coordinator, he was the quarterback's. He was assistant to the quarterback's coach, I think, or something along those lines. One of those guys that's really expendable, and he ended up keeping him because he said he made himself so readily available to Rich Rod that he made himself kind of expendable. He said there was only 4 people that really knew what was going on around there, and Rich Rod needed help, and he was definitely there to help him do it. So I thought that was cool, and he purposely volunteered to drive Rich Rod like 6 hours because something had to do with a flight that he couldn't. Oh, I remember now. The team plane we got reserved for the head coach, and so Rich Rod caught the short end of the stick. I can only imagine how he probably felt about that being Rich Rod. Can you imagine Rich Rod not being the guy somewhere? Anyway, so that was pretty crazy. He spent 6 hours in the car with Rich Rod, and I guess that won him over. So he said he's indebted to Rich Rod forever. He said he could have let him go, but he didn't. So that's pretty cool, man. He said one thing about Rich Rod that he loves about him is he's not hands-off with anything. The entire program is hands-on. There's literally not one aspect of the program that he's not involved with. He never has a day where it's like, let's just get through this. That's a quote. I thought that was pretty cool. He said Rich Rod has heart, is tough, and is demanding of the coaches. And he said the biggest thing he's learned from Rich Rod is working with a purpose. Everything has a purpose, even this 5-minute period, even this recruiting phone call, even meeting with this family. Everything is a purpose in the moment, living in the moment. No difference between walk-on scholarship players is a philosophy of this staff. Found that to be interesting. And then he will be working in Columbus, Ohio, which is a new area for him, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, and Florida. Those are going to be his recruiting areas. But he said we're going to be basically recruiting nationally. So a lot from Ryan Garrett today, guys. And I'm telling you, if you don't get a chance to go check out his press conference, I was 10 out of 10 impressed with him. Just like I said, as an orator, somebody that was speaking to the press for the first time here at West Virginia, or at least that I've seen. And his presence, like I said before earlier, his relatability, I think, is a big deal. He's an obviously very intense guy, with a work ethic. And there's a reason I can see now why Rich Rod kept him around. I see why we got ourselves a wide receivers coach now. I'm impressed with him, similar to who's another guy. Trying to think of somebody that I've been impressed with in the past, like him. I guess you know what? Probably like a Chester Frazier. Very similar. When I first seen Chester Frazier, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy, he gets it. He's good, and obviously Chester Frazier's panned out to be one of the best recruiters in America. When did you ever see West Virginia get 3 McDonald's All-American candidates? They're 4-star players come in. This don't happen to us. So this is going to be pretty awesome, guys. I'm excited. I think the basketball team is going to be fine. If you're joining late and you saw that on the thumbnail, I brought up a bunch of stats earlier. Go back in the episode and have a listen. But yeah, I feel good about the basketball team. I think they're going to get in as a 10, maybe an 11 if some teams win here and there. But overall, guys, great day to be a Mountaineer. We had that loss. We had 3 losses in one day if you consider the coach, the player, in Colorado. But we bounced back. That's what we do around here. Like the video. Subscribe if you're new around here, please. Hit that, just move your thumb or your mouse clicker just an inch. Hit that like button. And drop a comment, please. And just debate with me. Challenge me on something. Tell me I don't know anything. I don't care. Give me your email. I'll send you an email. If you want to drop your email down below, if you want a one-time message from me, Mountaineer Paul, I'll shoot you an email. As long as it's like Like the one video the other day, it had like 700 comments. I don't know if I can get that many, but first 20 people that want to drop an email down below, I'll say hi to you in an email, and maybe we can get you a free Discord link or something. All right, guys, have a great one. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. If I could ask for another favor, of course, always asking for favors around here, I would highly suggest checking out Locked On College Basketball. Isaac Shade and Andy Patton, they do it big on Locked On College Basketball. March is here. So be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, guys. Not a lot else to talk about. I will probably do another video today. There's some other stuff I was thinking about talking about. We'll see what happens. But until then, have a great rest of your week, and I'm out.